Kentucky at Ole Miss, Saturday, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. local time kickoff on ESPN. You know I love a good early kickoff, and that was another reason why we went to this game. Every Given Saturday tour, first time ever in the Grove, first time ever in Oxford to see a game. Very excited about that. I have had probably more people from Ole Miss reach out to me this week than, well, I don't know, Arkansas inundated us pretty good. But aside from week one, I think more people have reached out to me from Ole Miss in anticipation of us coming down there than any place that we've gone in recent memory. And that matters to us, so I appreciate that. This is the first matchup between these two in Oxford since 2010. So thank goodness this new rotational schedule is coming for the SEC, because how in the world is that even possible? Do you know what was happening in the SEC in 2010? Cam Newton. It's been since the Cam Newton year in the SEC that Kentucky played in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. Two headlines to keep in mind as we enter this week and as we enter this game. Ole Miss, first real big test for them. Think we all get that. That doesn't discount what they are. They just literally have not been put in a position to prove themselves against worthwhile competition yet. Number two, for Kentucky, Chris Rodriguez, the running back. He's finally back. Now, it's well documented that Kentucky has not run the ball worth anything this year. In fact, 2.4 yards per carry in the FBS level is near the bottom of the barrel. How much will he impact that? I think significantly, but I certainly don't think all of a sudden the Kentucky ground game becomes something that they can ride to a victory here. Far from that. So I expect they'll be well above 2.4 yards per carry. They may even be above 4 yards per carry. In fact, I think they will be this week. So that'll be great. It won't be quite enough in and of itself. I am convinced, and I mean I am thoroughly convinced, that turnovers are going to decide this game. The first reason is because if you've watched Ole Miss, and I don't think a lot of you have because they haven't been marquee games, Jackson Dart, Luke Altmaier, no matter who's been playing quarterback, there has been some questionable decision-making, and Lane Kiffin's been pretty vocal about it. And it's not the kind of thing that's ever going to cost you against the teams they played so far. They had a close call last week, but they won the game. It's not the kind of thing that's going to cost them based on the schedule they've played so far. It is absolutely the kind of thing that could cost them this Saturday. And I have no doubt that Mark Stoops will sell out to limit the run. And he'll look at those guys, and he'll look at his guys at corner and trust them and say, if they beat us throwing the ball, they beat us throwing the ball. But you know, the old stereotype about Lane Kiffin teams and Ole Miss, if you just think about them in your head, you just think about them bombing away. That's not the way that they've gone about things so far this year. They are a run-first team. They run the ball, which leads me to another problem for Ole Miss. Zach Evans, I don't think, is going to play Saturday. And if he does, it'd be at far less than 100%. I think Bentley's also out. So they got two experienced guys at tailback that may be out, and that leaves Quinshon Judkins starting for them probably. Now, he took home, I think, all SEC honors last week. He's a very good player, but it is a young player. And if I am convinced that turnovers are going to cost someone this week, decision-making at quarterback, youth and relative inexperience at running back, that's what could bite Ole Miss. On the other side, though, Kentucky has given up a ton of pressure. Will Levis has been pressured a lot. Kentucky has already allowed 16 sacks through 4 games. That is no bueno. And Ole Miss has improved steadily, defensively, every year. I think that they can get after Will Levis again this week. Kentucky, if they don't improve radically in the run game this week, and therefore if they are in a lot of obvious passing downs, it just sets itself up so well for those pressure situations, for Will Levis to be affected. Now, here's what's going to happen. I could be right about them ultimately turning the ball over, and Levis still makes some circus throws, and he makes some circus plays. You got to tip your cap to him when he does that. What you got to do is make him do it half a dozen times to beat you. And if he does, then he does. You just got to bank on the fact that he doesn't do that, and he ends up giving you an opportunity, and you capitalize defensively. So what is the value? Here's the other thing that I'm thinking about with this game before we take a look at what the model thinks. You can only play who's on your schedule. So Ole Miss has not been tested yet. So if you think they're good, you think they're good. And if you think that they're overrated, the point is nobody has changed their mind on Ole Miss because the schedule has not allowed you to. They played Troy, they played Central Arkansas, they went to Georgia Tech, they played Tulsa last week. Both of these teams were sleepwalking last week. So you've got that on the Ole Miss side. Colin, could you show me Kentucky's schedule right quick? Because here's what I want to know. What is the value of Kentucky having played that game in week 2 at Florida, where they went down there and they had to fight and they got some turnover bounces their way and they won the game. And that's been the only real test for them because they sleepwalked is it sleptwalk, sleepwalked, whatever. The past tense of sleepwalking, they both did it last week. What is the value of that week 2 game? Do we get to a point in this thing where Ole Miss gets out into the deep end for the first time and you realize there are some cracks on that team you just didn't know about, and then conversely you're watching Kentucky and you say, look at them, man, being a little battle tested in week 2, that's proving to pay dividends for them this week. That's kind of me openly speculating because I don't have the answer to that. I just wonder about it. So let's take a look at what the model thinks. Let's take a look again at the Vegas number. Ole Miss is favored by 6.5. If you wanted to, you could have gotten Rebs -4 last week in the futures market, and I expected it to tick up a little bit, and it has, and it may even touch 7 this week. I have looked at this thing, and I think that turnovers are going to decide it, which is me telegraphing to you, I don't think there's much skill in predicting the outcome of this game. And I am outright admitting that as I tell you I'm taking Kentucky to win the game outright because I like the profile of the team. I think they match up fairly well here. There are some questions on my side about Ole Miss and their ability to take over the game on the ground, and if they can't, I know those quarterbacks have it in them to play a complete game, but man, I also know Kentucky's defense has it in them to change a game. And so it's just a slight hunch. There's nothing strong in my mind about this. We're probably not going to be betting the game or anything, but I'm going to take Kentucky to cover. And if I think it's going to be that close, I never feel like I'm in a winning proposition situation with Kentucky games because anytime I pick against them, I'm the one proven wrong, and I'm the one out here holding up apology notes to Mark Stoops. So, you know what? If I'm proven wrong this time, I'm going to be proven wrong betting on Mark Stoops instead of against him. We'll take Kentucky to win. We'll take Kentucky to cover. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.